Welcome to Engagement Fundraising, where you'll learn how busy fundraisers like you are generating more major and planned gifts at lower costs. Brought to you by iMarketSmart.com, the software and services company that helps nonprofits raise more money more efficiently.
You got to start with the end in mind, recognizing that this is all a long journey. If you really want to raise millions and millions of dollars, you've got to be super strategic about it. You can't just spray and pray your marketing and your fundraising at everybody with one-size-fits-all strategies. But if you take the time and put forth just a little bit of investment in collecting the information that you really need, then you can highly segment your audiences and deliver value to them in a way that's meaningful and will help them feel good about themselves, which is really the end story, is you want to help people feel good.
Hi there, welcome to Engagement Fundraising. I'm Tim Chen, Marketing Solutionist at MarketSmart. On today's episode, I sit down with Greg Warner to discuss creating great content that donors love. Not sure what engagement fundraising is or what content works with donors? Well, you will soon. So people like content, Greg, don't they?
People like content. What a weird word, content. Like, am I content? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about content, stuff.
Yeah, content's pretty widespread. Text, images, video.
Yeah. It's such
apps.
a wide-ranging word, content. Here's a content idea. Let me throw one at you, okay? Imagine you have a couple hundred people in your legacy society. They have told you that they have already made a gift in their estate plan, their will, whatever, beneficiary designation of life insurance, to leave a gift for the organization. Or some organizations have a couple thousand, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The research shows that if you really steward, pay attention, and if you're nice to those people, kind of like I'm trying to be nice to my grandmother. Just kidding. They're both gone. Some people will say, I better be nice to my grandmother because I get in the will. But if you're really nice to them, the likelihood that those gifts are realized from the Legacy Society members increases substantially. Some Legacy Society members will not actually leave a gift. For whatever reason. It could be that they just changed their mind in the last few years, which the research shows is when people make their final decision anyway. No matter what they told you, they make their final decision.
Sure.
Later.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the last few years of life, it becomes very turbulent. They change their minds. They kick some organization out. They bring some organization in, things like that.
How often do nonprofits ask if they're still a part of the plan?
Yeah, not very many ever do it. Of course, we have a process for that here. For some clients, we even do it yearly, but it's not a hard ask. It's a opportunity for people to confirm and double confirm and even increase the size of the gift. Generally, people give about 4 times more when they're stewarded properly.
Okay.
So everything I'm talking about for this particular content offer or the development of it is, right now we're talking about stewardship. Target audience is Legacy Society members, and the strategic objective is to ensure that the gifts remain in the plan and increase in size, and to prevent them from going elsewhere, removing them from the plan and going to a different organization. Simple strategy. So what do we do? Content, right? Content. I'm sitting here talking about content.
Yeah, content. Okay? What do you send them?
Don't answer the question because you don't know the answer.
I don't know. I'm asking it. What do you send them?
What is the answer? All right, here's one content offer. Dear Mary, thank you so much again for including us in your plan. We're so appreciative, and because of you, future generations will be impacted in such a wonderful way. You're an amazing person. We can't thank you enough. Because of what you've planned, I thought that you might appreciate something that other people just like you in our legacy society have benefited from and appreciated. So today I'm sending you this link whereby you can go online and very quickly download a workbook that will help you write down your memoirs and your autobiography. It's a fun workbook too, and it's got lots of spaces and questions for you about your life so that you can write down your autobiography essentially. And we have found, and many of our supporters just like you have found, that it's a real fun experience to think back. But the real benefit of this is that your children and your grandchildren will know details about your life and the hardships you endured and the life lessons that you want to pass down. And of course, including the charities that you support and why you support them and what was the reason for that. So you can include all of this in your workbook. You don't have to write it in our workbook. This is just a guide. You can create a memoir, do whatever you want. And in fact, I'm pretty good at talking with people and talking them through this exercise. So if you'd like, just give me a call, because I talk to a lot of supporters just like you, and I'd be happy to hear your stories and help you kind of work it out so it becomes a real gem, a real memorable item for your loved ones. So just click here, and if you'd prefer, email me and I'll send you a print version, or we can even meet up. And by the way, P.S., we have a mini webinar where I'll be teaching a class, so to speak, online about how to go through this. You know, it's a process and it's not easy, but it's a lot of fun. And since you're retired,
You have time.
Yeah,
sure.
And on and on. Okay, what do you think? You like that?
Yeah, that's a really good offer. Yeah, it's something that they can sink their teeth into.
Doesn't ask them for money.
Everyone likes talking about themselves too, right?
Yeah, there's a psychological reason why this works. And we've been using this content and that kind of offer, not just for Legacy Society members, but for major gift donors. They could be even mid-level donors. Everybody wants to find meaning in their life. Everybody wants to think about their life. And everybody wants to end up, in the end, saying to themselves, I'm a good person. So that's what we're trying to give them an opportunity to do. And we're trying to entwine it with our cause, just to a degree. We're including the law of reciprocity to ensure that they feel that we're giving to them. I mean, let's face it, they're giving to us, we should give to them. If we give to them, they will give more to us. It's not all about asking. In fact, we should be giving much more than we're taking. And that's one thing that nonprofits don't understand. And that's where content marketing comes in the nonprofit sector. The law of reciprocity is very, very powerful. And the research shows amazingly, and frankly, nonprofits know this because they're always giving people these address labels that are worth really nothing. And then somebody will donate $100.
Yeah.
So what the research proves over and over with the law of reciprocity is that if you give someone something very inexpensive, digital, a PDF, they reciprocate in exponential terms by leaving you their house.
Yeah, because all these little nice touches you sent their way over the years, they remember you from that.
Yeah. And even if they don't want that particular offer, people generally don't unsubscribe when you're giving to them selflessly. It's kind of like getting invited to the party, but they decided not to go. It doesn't mean they're going to unsubscribe and they never want to hear from you again. It just means that that particular party wasn't the one that they wanted to attend.
Sure. If you're invited to a nice luncheon, you can't go. That's not offensive that you're invited to this nice lunch.
Yep. So we've given some real world examples already, and I talked about private sector and the nonprofit sector. It's clear the private sector understands content marketing, and it really was like a tidal wave maybe 8-10 years ago of change that occurred in the private sector in talking about content marketing and creating content and content offers to get people involved and essentially to generate leads. But what the fundraising sector hasn't quite gotten a hold of, unless they're working with us and using our platform, is that major donors and legacy society members and people who are considering making those kinds of gifts, they should be provided content so that we, as marketers, just like the private sector does, we can generate leads, we can find out people's needs, we can understand where they are in the donor journey, and then we can map out what offers are appropriate for what stage they are or in which they reside in the donor journey that are also in line with an individual's needs. So the trick of this is just take out a piece of paper and a pencil and you kind of create a tic-tac-toe board, much bigger, more lines. And on the left-hand side, you write down the needs of your constituents. And on the bottom, you write down the donor journey. So are they in the awareness stage, the interest stage, the desire stage, or the action stage, or the stewardship stage? Okay. So then you look at those squares or rectangles, whatever is in those empty boxes, and you think, okay, according to the needs on the left-hand side, which there should be plenty, maybe it's a business person who just retired, maybe it's someone who's just in your legacy society, all different needs that people have, and then look at where they are in the donor journey, and then fill that box with at least one piece of content that you think that they would enjoy. That's the easy way to create content.
Yeah, and then have a system where they're segmented when you send out offers that they just get what's appropriate for them.
So if they're using, for instance, our donor survey platform, we find out all those needs and where people reside in the consideration process through the donor survey, and also with monitoring people's digital body language as they navigate web pages online. That helps to really create that email, for instance, of 112 people that fit this stage and this need, and 715 people that fit this need and this stage. And then the idea is to send the relevant, appropriate offers to the right people at the right stage to fulfill their needs. It sounds simple now that I just said that, but it's highly complex.
You have to have a process of identifying them accurately, and that can be a struggle sometimes if you don't think that through.
Yeah, you got to start with the end in mind, recognizing that this is all a long journey. If you really want to raise millions and millions of dollars, you've got to be super strategic about it. You got to recognize that you need this information. You can't just splatter information. You need information about the donors. You can't just splatter, spray and pray your marketing and your fundraising at everybody with one size fits all strategies. But if you take the time and put forth just a little bit of investment in collecting the information that you really need, then you can highly segment your audiences and deliver value to them in a way that's meaningful and will help them feel good about themselves, which is really the end story. Is you want to help people feel good.
Learn where to download that checklist Greg's been referencing in this quick break. Want to download that content value checklist Greg's been referencing? Go to imarketsmart.com/checklist to download your copy. The free checklist is the essential reference guide for creating great content that your donors will love. Once again, get your copy by going to imarketsmart.com/checklist. That's www.imarketsmart.com/checklist.
So this leads to value.
Yes, value.
Right? Which is kind of what we've been talking about all the way here. Value is the cornerstone, if you will, of content. You can't just create content for the sake of creating content and then throw it out there. You have to understand your audiences and then make sure that the content you develop provides value. So we've got a checklist here for our staff, but here I'll run through a checklist of items that people will want to consider to make sure that they are providing value for their donors.
In this checklist, is this items that the content should have all of these components in it, or?
Definitely not. That'll be pretty hard to do, but as many as you can. This is an extensive list. I'm going to burn through it really fast. Number one, is it fun? Is it fair? Are you being honest and transparent about why you're giving this offer to them? You don't want people to feel like they're being hoodwinked. Tell them why you're giving it to them. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're sending this to you because you're so important, and we want you to feel important, an important member of our legacy society. Will it educate them or inform them in some way? I'm not big on educating people to death, because education, I mean, the word...
You can educate in a fun way.
Yeah, that's right.
Merge those two together.
Thank you. Yes. So now we're merging those. Yes. Thank you. And is it shareable? People like to share things. Make it shareable. Does it evoke some kind of emotion? Does it release dopamine or oxytocin? That's another way of saying, does it make them feel good? And the opposite of that is, does it agitate them? No, you don't want that.
No, as we learned earlier in the race example.
Yeah. And does it help them feel like they are the hero in their own life story? So as Dr. Russell James calls it, autobiographical heroism. Does it make them feel like they are the hero or can be the hero? Does it give them a sense that they can live forever in the minds of others, providing what Dr. James calls a feeling of symbolic immortality? Does it enable them to give back or pay it forward? Big reason why people give. Does it help them feel that they're being altruistic? Which is interesting, because if they feel good because they're being altruistic, then they're not really altruistic, but that's another philosophical discussion.
Yes.
Does it provide a sense of community or a connection with others? So this idea, by the way, for that legacy journal, the memoir I just described, that actually came from my aunt. And she, at her synagogue, there was a course where someone who was good at writing memoirs, they sent it out to all the retirees, and they said, come to synagogue on such and such a morning, and between the hours of 10 and 12.
So it's a draw to get them to synagogue, especially if they weren't regular churchgoers.
Make friends, come visit, and we're going to all work together. It's a 4-week course, 2 hours each day, and then we'll even go to lunch afterward, and we're going to talk about creating our legacy journal for our family. That's where I got the idea.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Guess what? The synagogue is doing it. Now, they forgot to add the question about favorite charities and things like that, and they probably should have slipped in a 5-minute or 1-minute thing of, by the way, since you're all thinking about your legacy, wouldn't you want to help sustain the synagogue for generations to come? If you're interested in that, please let us know. So they missed a big opportunity there, as best as I know it.
Yeah.
But in the end, the offer created a sense of community. We're almost through the checklist. Does it give them notoriety in some way, or give them an opportunity to gain notoriety? Can they learn about how they can gain notoriety or praise from the content? Does it enable them to right wrongs and advocate or change society in some way? And finally, does it give them a feeling that they're being religious? Are they fulfilling their religious dictates by engaging with this offer? So that's about all I've got for the value checklist, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, so those are some things to keep in mind as you're developing content.
Yeah, make sure that it provides value. And if you're not sure, bullet point your content idea and show it, or even create a fake cover of a report. You don't have to write the whole report, and just show the cover and the bullet points of what's in it to some of your donors. Say, what do you think about this offer? We're thinking about creating this report or this webinar. Would you download it, do you think? If the answer is a resounding yes, then go ahead and build out that piece of content.
Yeah, sounds good. So, Greg, what are some other ideas? We went over the memoir journal.
Okay, so why don't I do a lightning round, and then
let's fire through it.
Let's fire through. I'm going to just pound as many content ideas that I can in, a minute.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, ready? Don't take out your watch. Okay, I'll pound away, and then we'll wrap this up. Infographics. Those are cool, right?
Yeah. Easy to share.
They could be interactive also, clickable. Short, self-contained emails. Just a very brief update. Hi, Joe. Just wanted to let you know that progress is underway. Here's a quick picture. You could do this with letters, too. Short letters, handwritten notes, online little articles. Just boom, boom, 2 to 3 little paragraphs, maybe tip sheets, highly relevant YouTubes. You could even, there's software that you could put an individual's name in the YouTube video. You could take your 50 top donors, embed their name in things. Joe, this was because of you. Here's what you did. This is the thing that you funded. You can do that. It's not that hard to add that to a video and send out 50 of them. And you're like, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. Well, hold on. Those 50 people are giving you $50 million Put a little elbow grease in it. Links to articles. Hi, Mary. I just thought you would like to see this article. Simple. That's content, right? How about an annual report? Here's our annual report. Here's how we've been spending your money. Here's the programs that are in development. How about long form articles? How about podcasts? Does a charity do podcasts? I don't know. Some of them. Quizzes. Quizzes are fun. People like that. Games. Some games. Gave an idea to an organization that cleans rivers. Mm-hmm. And I see most of the people who support you apparently are people who like to fish and boat and things like that. So why don't you create an app that shows them where the cleanest rivers are? So that's an app. That's a game. That's something that people can get involved in. And not only that, but it helps you keep an eye on what's going on. Calculators. We've got a great offer actually on our website, which is a bequest calculator. So you can go online there and calculate how much revenue your organization can expect from bequests. It's very simple, in fact. All you have to do is enter in the number of active donors you have, and voila, you get a figure that shows you how much you should get from bequests. Mapping tools, maybe, ways people can advocate, any kind of widget. If you have a blog, that's always good content. An alumni magazine. I don't know. Did I do enough? I'm sure I'm over 1 minute.
It's quite a bit.
But
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Good lightning round.
Good lightning round.
All right.
So content offers. You should be developing these ideas, ones that are relevant to your supporters, and provide value, target to the right people, and you'll make your supporters happy.
Yes.
It's all about making them happy.
Make them feel good. Feel good. Super.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Engagement Fundraising. If you like the show, make sure to review it on iTunes and pass it along to a friend or colleague. If you are curious about what we do at MarketSmart, make sure to check out iMarketSmart.com and download our free content value checklist at www.imarketsmart.com/checklist. We'll be back next Thursday to discuss creating a menu of fundraising offerings.